Hey, what's up guys? As promised, today I'm going to show you how to make your own race logic style lap timer. And I'm going to use STL files that have already been created by another creator, so I'll share a link to their files. I'm also going to use a Vocore 4-inch screen, so I'll share a link to that in the description as well. And I'm going to show you guys how to build this, put it together, set it up in SimHub, and get it up and running. So let's jump into it. First off, you're going to need your 3D printed parts, obviously. You're going to need your Vocore 4-inch screen, a USB panel mounted plug. You're going to need an Allen wrench, probably a Phillips screwdriver, some 12 millimeter M3 socket screws and bolts. And this hardware is what came with the panel mounted USB. Now for printing this, I chose to print it upright because I wanted to make sure it had clean lines and basically kind of have like a stainless steel effect. Some people like to carbon fiber print it. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And then I printed an ultra thin button overlay just to keep it looking legit. On the back side, you'll see I've already glued in the bolts just to make this easier and move a little bit faster. Now for installing the Vocore screen, first off, I'm going to go ahead and remove the protective film because I won't be able to access that again. And then this is just going to drop right through the little port back here. And we can go ahead and place it in. You have an SD card dud here that will slide right into one side of the panel. And everything pretty much just falls in place from there. Once that's in, I can go ahead and install my USB panel mount. Now, a couple things with this panel mount. First off, it's a little bit oversized. It's bigger than I wanted it to be, so it's going to be a little bit tricky to get the alignment just right, but basically going to go ahead and start these screws, get it mounted up to the panel, and then once it's properly screwed in, I can focus on figuring out how to hook it up to the board. All right, now that's installed, you guys can see I kind of messed up a little bit and got too big of a panel mount. The bright side of that is that it's mounted in place and it's going to help hold this middle panel in because I have the SD card dud on this side and the length of this USB panel mount to hold it in place. So that might actually work out because I wasn't quite sure if the bolts on the backside with the glue were going to be enough. So I'm kind of okay with that. Let's see if we can get it plugged into place and then we can put it the rest of the way together. Okay, this part's kind of been the most heartburn causing stressful part because I don't want to damage the ribbon connecting the board. So I'm trying to find a way to get the cable connected, not put too much strain on everything. I think I've got it looped around and now I'm going to connect it. I tried to start by connecting it and that made me way more nervous. So I think that way is going to be the way to do it. Only question is whether I can get the back panel to seat in place or not. Try to loop that around a little bit. All right, because that panel cable takes up so much space, I'm actually a little nervous that this is going to be tougher than it looked, but we're going to go ahead and put the bolts in and see if everything goes together as planned. Now that we've got all the screws in place, we'll go ahead and boot it up and make sure it works. And immediately got the Vocore screen. I haven't done anything else to get it up and running, so that's a good start. All right, now we'll go ahead and make sure it's working properly in SimHub. So I'll boot up SimHub. If it doesn't already come on, go into your devices and make sure you add the generic Vocore screen. You may need to go into screen settings here and adjust the rotation So now we want to go ahead and install all of the proper screens and everything to make this work as a lap timer. Now for the dashboard screens, you have a few different options. I wasn't able to find any decent screens that were actually available for download, so I went ahead and created my own. You guys could choose to create your own as well, or try to locate some. Or if you guys are a member of the channel page, then you guys get access to the ones that I've created. I've already placed them in the shared drive folder for you guys. If you choose to go that route and use the ones I've created, you can just go ahead and extract the file once you download it. And in your SimHub root folder, go into Image Library, Icons. You're going to go into the list of things you downloaded. Take the TWE neon and drop that right there. We're going to use that to test the screen's working right. And then we'll go over to Dash Templates. Now, you guys will see a long list when you go into Dash Templates. I'm only using the lap timer. So I've set it to, or I've created a folder that says ignore and dropped all other templates in there so that they don't get in the way and create an issue when cycling on the lap timer. If you guys have a particular dash you like to use, you can go ahead and keep that in there, but then try to reduce as much as possible. It'll just make it cycle smoother. So now that we've got that in, let's go ahead and boot up SimHub. And you'll notice initially, for me, the screen doesn't come on. For you guys, it'll all depend, but you're gonna need to go into devices. Actually, go to Dash Studio first, because this is how we're gonna test this, and edit your home screen dashboard. You're just gonna scroll down here to the image and click on the TWE, and that'll give us a home screen. If you guys want to use a different image, obviously you can use any image you want. For your home screen, that is just the one for the channel. So obviously I'm going to try to promote it. That being said, now we can go over to the devices. I have my home screen set for idle behavior, and I can choose the main dash I want it to load up to. Now, in certain games like Assetto or for iRacing, when I move over to the actual sim rig, I can set up my active screen. I can also set up a playlist for which screens, if I'm still running a DDU or something like that. That way it'll only cycle through the lap timer screens if that's what I want it to do. Now let's get it booted up on the rig and test it out. Now to mount this up to the rig, I've gone ahead and created my own 3D printed mount for it. And I can tighten this up and make it a little stiffer, but I really don't need to because it's basically going to sit at that angle. But this is attached with some clear mounting tape, and then I'll go ahead and screw it in on this side to the dashboard so that it holds in place nicely. Alright guys, as you can see, the lap timer is up and running. We've got last lap time, which I haven't completed a last lap. Delta is active. Lap information, best lap time, current lap time, and estimated lap time. Now you'll see as I come around this corner here, let me see if I can push it. I got it just enough to where you can see the light go green for a minute. I'm not warmed up, I'm not pushing the car very hard, so I'm not going to get that green light to tell me my delta's running faster than expected, but you can see the activity in the delta screen. Obviously lap information. Best lap is going to be my last lap because it's going to take my session best. And current lap time. And I should now have an estimated lap time as well based on where I'm at on the track. So overall, everything's working properly. I think it's a nice, clean, beautiful addition to the sim rig. It's something that's actually relatively useful when trying to get faster lap times and just have that extra bit of feedback that is more immersive because it's outside the screen and not, something else that's just an overlay in the screen. So I'm pretty stoked with how that came out. As I typically have been lately. I think I say that almost every video lately, but I'm starting to get this 3D printing stuff down, understanding the coding a little bit. I will say it took me a little bit longer than expected to get things to work right with iRacing. so that I was getting all the data I wanted. And I still have some things I'd like to fine tune. Obviously my estimated lap time LEDs need to be updated, so that'll be something I'll update and reshare to the member folder. Alright guys, so as you saw, not a very complicated build. If you've got a 3D printer and order a few parts, it's really easy to put together a super immersive lap timer. Now, my goal is to build the absolute most visually immersive sim rig possible, and then at some point start adding in all the extra features like belt tensioners, and I've got a few other ideas for things that don't even exist yet. So I'm working with trying to figure out how to make all that work. But ultimately, this will be the most visually immersive sim rig you'll ever see by the time I'm done with it. So next week, we're going to carry on with that build. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you next week.